There's something I've been thinking about lately when it comes to artificial intelligence, and I think it's an important distinction that doesn't get talked about enough. We're hearing so much about which AI tool you should learn, which model is better, which new feature has just been released, and which technology is supposedly going to change everything. And yes, technology matters. But I think we're sometimes asking the wrong question. Instead of constantly asking, which AI tool should I learn next? Perhaps we should be asking, which skills should I develop that become even more valuable when I know how to use AI? Because if you've been following the digital hustle, you'll know that I don't want this channel to be about simply collecting technology. I want us to think about how we can use technology to become more capable, create more opportunities, and build a better future. So, if you've already embraced AI and you're wondering what you should actually be learning next, let's talk about that. Because I don't think the answer is simply learn more AI. I think the answer is to develop a combination of technology skills and human skills that work together. And the first one I would put right at the top of that list is problem solving. Think about it. An AI system can help you generate hundreds of ideas in a matter of seconds, but that doesn't mean all of those ideas are useful. Someone still needs to recognize the actual problem. Someone needs to understand why it is happening. Someone needs to decide what a good solution would look like. And someone needs to know whether the solution actually worked. That is problem solving. And I think this is going to become increasingly important because when technology makes producing information easier, the ability to understand which problems are worth solving becomes incredibly valuable. So don't just learn how to get AI to produce an answer, learn how to identify the right question. The second skill I would focus on is communication. And I know what you're probably thinking, communication in an AI video. Yes, absolutely. Because AI can generate an email, a report, a presentation, or a piece of content. But communication is about much more than putting words on a page. It's understanding another person. It's knowing what they need to hear. It's being able to explain something complicated in a simple way. It's knowing when to listen instead of speaking. It's being able to persuade, negotiate, and collaborate. And those are deeply human skills. In fact, I think there's something quite interesting happening here. The easier it becomes for everyone to generate information, the more valuable it may become to have people who can make that information meaningful. The third skill I would develop is critical thinking. And this one is absolutely essential because as AI becomes more powerful, you might actually have more information available to you than ever before. But having more information doesn't automatically mean making better decisions. You still need to question what you are seeing. You need to recognize assumptions. You need to notice when something doesn't make sense. You need to compare information. You need to verify important facts. And sometimes you need to be comfortable saying, I don't know. That is not a weakness, that's judgment. And I think judgment is going to become increasingly important in a world where machines can produce answers incredibly quickly. The fourth skill I'd put on the list is learning how to learn. And this one might sound simple, but I think it's one of the biggest advantages that you can develop because the world of technology isn't standing still. The tools you learn today may look completely different a few years from now. So, if your entire advantage depends on knowing how to use one particular piece of software, what happens when that software changes? But if you've developed the ability to learn quickly, adapt, experiment, and teach yourself new things, you become much more resilient. You don't have to know everything. You need to know how to keep learning. And honestly, I think that's one of the biggest reasons I'm so excited about what we're building here at the Digital Hustle because This isn't just about teaching you today's technology, it's about helping you develop the mindset to keep moving when the technology changes. The fifth skill is creativity. And this is another area where I think people sometimes misunderstand AI. They hear that AI can create images, write stories, generate ideas, and produce content, and they immediately assume that creativity is therefore becoming less important. I actually think the opposite could happen. When the barrier to creating something becomes lower, more people can experiment. You can take an idea that previously would have required an entire team and start exploring it yourself. You can test different concepts, you can create prototypes, you can experiment, but again, the technology isn't deciding what is worth creating. You are. AI can help you explore possibilities. Your creativity determines which possibilities are worth pursuing. And then there's another skill I think deserves far more attention, knowing your industry. This one is particularly important because I don't want you to think that becoming good at AI means having to abandon everything that you've already learned. Quite the opposite. If you understand healthcare, finance, education, retail, engineering, marketing, customer service, construction, logistics, or any other industry, that knowledge is valuable. Now imagine combining that knowledge with AI. Suddenly, you're not just someone who knows how to use an AI tool, you're someone who understands a real world environment and knows how technology can potentially improve it. That's a very different proposition. And this brings me back to something we've discussed in the previous video. AI is the multiplier. But you still need something worth multiplying, right? Your experience matters, your judgment matters, your communication matters, your creativity matters, your understanding of people matters, your understanding of your industry matters, and your ability to solve problems matters. AI can potentially amplify those things, but it doesn't magically create them for you. And that's why I want you to stop thinking that your future is simply about becoming an AI person. You don't necessarily need to become a computer scientist. You don't necessarily need to become a programmer. You don't need to know every new AI tool that appears next week. What you do need to start thinking about is, what am I already good at? What problems do I understand? What skills could I strengthen? And how could AI help me to become significantly better at them? Because that's where I think the real opportunity lies. You take what you already know, you identify where you need to grow, you learn how to use AI effectively, and then you combine those things into something that creates value. That's how you move from simply using AI to becoming someone who knows how to apply AI. And eventually, that's what creates leverage. Not because you know the most tools, not because you have the fanciest prompts, not because you've watched the most AI videos, but because you've become someone who can think, solve, communicate, adapt, and create, and you know how to use technology to make those abilities more powerful. And if you're listening to this thinking, well, I don't have any of those skills yet, I want you to stop right there. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to suddenly transform yourself into a completely different person. Pick one. Maybe it's communication. Maybe it's problem solving. Maybe it's learning how to use AI properly. Maybe it's understanding your industry better. Maybe it's learning how to build workflows. Start there. Because becoming more valuable isn't usually one giant transformation. It's a series of small improvements that compound over time. And that is exactly what I want the digital hustle to help you do. Not chase every shiny new technology, not panic every time someone announces that AI is going to change everything, and definitely not convince you that you're already behind. Instead, I want us to look at where you are today, figure out where you want to go, and work out what you need to learn to get there. Because some people are still standing on the shore, wondering whether they should get onto the boat. Some people are already on the boat trying to figure out how to navigate. And some are ready to take the wheel and learn how to steer. Nobody should get left behind. So wherever you are on that journey, there's a place for you here. Don't ask yourself, how many AI tools do I know? Rather ask yourself, what am I becoming capable of? Because the goal isn't simply to keep up with technology. The goal is to become the kind of person who can use technology to move forward. Now, before you go, here's today's digital takeaway. If there's one thing I want you to take from this video, it's this. Don't make AI your entire skill set. Make AI part of your skill set. Think about what you already bring to the table. Maybe it's your ability to communicate. Maybe it's your experience in an industry. Maybe you're naturally good at solving problems. Maybe you're creative. Maybe you're great at teaching people. Maybe you organize, analytical, or good with people. Whatever it is, don't assume that AI has made those abilities irrelevant. Instead, ask yourself, how can I combine what I already know with what AI can do? Because your advantage may not come from knowing more AI tools than everyone else. It may come from becoming someone who can think, solve, communicate, adapt, and create, and knows how to use AI to make those abilities more powerful. So don't try to learn everything at once. Choose one skill. Learn how AI can strengthen it, put it into practice, and then build from there. Because you don't have to become an expert overnight. You just have to become a little more capable than you were yesterday. And if you keep doing that, eventually you won't just be keeping up with the changing world of work. You'll be preparing yourself to lead in it. That's today's digital takeaway. Learn, earn, grow, live your freedom, and I will definitely see you in the next one.